Okay, so we have our answer. We are not having a lockdown. We are not having a shutdown. And Shinzo Abe repeatedly said in his press release conference yesterday of we can't have a lockdown and shut down like in other countries. We just can't do it. It's true that the Japanese Constitution does say that you can't impose on people's individual freedoms. However, you know what Japan does have? A shit ton of bureaucracy that it could use to its advantage, literally at any given point in time. And it could basically create a situation for a lockdown shutdown, like I've mentioned before. Abe amended a whole bunch of powers where he could very well shut down trains and buses and taxis even by taking over gas stations and shutting them down. He could limit people's freedoms in the sense that, like, they can't take that 1 hour commute in and out of Tokyo to go to work. But the cynical part of me thinks that he decided not to because his commerce people told him that if he did that, then the economy would take such a big dive, and oh no, that money. Wouldn't want that to happen. So, yes, we have freedom of movement. We have travel still going. We still have people commuting. Even though today it was down supposedly by about 30%. Shinzo Abe was requesting that we decrease it to 80%, but that was a pipe dream to begin with the no shutting down of actual transportation thing. So, yay. A for effort, I guess. But, okay. Once again, I am no expert on pandemic anything. I'm not a virologist or anything. But here's how it works in my head. The clusters no longer have paths of origins that are known. They have many unknown paths of origin. We have people who have been exposed to the virus that they just don't know how they've been exposed to it because lack of testing, but also because a lot of people are asymptomatic and they're carrying it without even knowing about it. And like I said before, there's the misinformation and miscommunication about like how COVID-19 is kind of like the flu. And since flu season's over, a lot of people have like stopped wearing their masks, and also there's a mask shortage. Because of the mask shortage, people aren't wearing them as often. Some people are making homemade masks, some people aren't, but you get the idea. Basically, asymptomatic people, also, if you don't feel sick, why would you wear a mask? So people who have it but are still going about their lives and, just getting on trains and getting on buses and being around people, and they think it's fine because, yeah, they don't feel sick. It should be fine. So people are getting sick randomly now. It's not a matter of like, oh, well, this person was sick, so therefore they're positive. No. Randomly people are getting sick, which I knew already because 2 of my friends got sick with high fevers, coughing, and fatigue and pneumonia-like symptoms here in Japan. They never got tested for it because they weren't allowed to get tested for it, even having a fever for over a week. Still gonna be mad about that. We have people traveling about, and it's not stopping. So honestly, I don't expect this state of non-emergency to really work. Even though, yes, some businesses in Tokyo have shut down for a month, a lot haven't. Same for in Osaka. Even though a lot of businesses have shut down, schools have shut down. Private schools don't have to adhere to those rules. Also, even though it's like Osaka Metropolitan and Tokyo Metropolitan, other schools, like within these same prefectural areas, they don't have to abide by those rules. They don't have to just shut down. So Kanagawa being like one of those. For a while today, people were thinking that like, oh, Kanagawa's just not even going to say anything. They're not even shutting down. Well, apparently from today and from this Friday and this Saturday, some businesses are going to start shutting down, and some schools are going to start shutting down. But it's like case by case basis, which is the way it's going. It's all going to be case by case basis because it's only 7 prefectures, and that's that's it. But with the two focuses in Osaka and Tokyo, the others aren't really that focused on. So we have this issue where, because the government's kind of giving this mixed signal of, yeah, it's really, really important that we get this down, but there's not actually enough being done to do that. I don't understand how Shinzo Abe seems to think that in 2 weeks we're going to have a flattened curve. What? I don't see that happening. I hope I'm wrong. I sincerely do. I hope that the curve does go down somehow, magically, miraculously, without any actually effort being put into that. But I hope so. But I don't expect it to. I honestly expect the cases to keep increasing over the 2 weeks because, once again, travel hasn't been limited. Travel is still the same. In Shinagawa and Osaka stations today, there were packed train stations. But I don't understand how you think that it will somehow be decreased just because a couple of cities are down for the count. Right now, even, we're seeing some news reports of people who are fleeing from Tokyo and going out into the Inaka because, they're scared. When people are scared and they want to get to safety or what they think will be safer out somewhere else, that's only human nature. You want to also be with your family, and people generally don't realize, I think, still, that the coronavirus, when you are asymptomatic, you could still be carrying it. So people who are living in Tokyo and living in Osaka, they're usually living there because of job reasons. They're not usually living there because that's where they were originally from. Most of their family members are out in the countryside in the Inaka area. So yeah, you're scared. You want to be near family, so you go out to family, and you don't even realize you're carrying it because you're asymptomatic. And so you're putting your elderly parents at risk or your grandparents at risk, and you don't even know it. But once again, people don't really seem to be thinking that way, because when Shinzo Abe is making his declaration, it's not really focusing on that. It's focusing on, oh, please don't do this stuff that we've mentioned before. And that's basically it. Businesses, please close down. Schools, please consider closing down. Onegaishimasu. Okay. I want to believe that there will be a flattening of the curve. I want to believe that, people will just somehow not go to work and they'll somehow stay home. But there's no incentive for businesses to shut down. They keep talking about, they can name and shame them on television and it'll work magically. Businesses don't care about shame. They care about money. Just like the government cares about the economy more than its actual population. Businesses need an incentive to shut down. If you tell them to shut down, but you're not going to actually compensate them for being shut down, why would they shut down? Also, if you're asking businesses to shut down, but you're not giving them like a timeline to work with, for example, a great way and a great incentive would be like, if you are shut down between now to May 7th, we'll compensate you with insert X amount of money here based on a, like a sliding scale, depending on if you're a small business to a large business. That could incentivize people to shut down. But shaming them, I don't see how shaming's really actually gonna work in Japan, even though it's a shame culture and even though it's like bad for you. Here's the thing though. People will still go to restaurants and they'll still go to cafes if they're still open. In America, and the lockdowns and shutdowns first started happening, bars had lines going all the way around because people couldn't go to restaurants, so they went to bars and they went to other places. In Nevada, it was like certain casinos were closed, certain places were still open, so it had to be completely like shut down because otherwise people were just en masse going to places that were still open. It will be the same here. I'm expecting it to. Even if you try to name and shame these places, even if you try to like make it stop, if it's open, people will still go to these things. They'll go to these events. They'll go to these restaurants. They'll go to these cafes because they're open and they have to go to work, and they would rather go get coffee at a cafe than, say, making it at home. We have a whole world designed for like easy convenience. And when you take the easy convenience away, then people are more likely to do it at home. But if you're leaving avenues for easy convenience in and around them, they're going to still use it. I guess that's what the point, long way around, I was trying to make. People still use those easy conveniences. They still go to these places. They still give them money. The government isn't giving them money. They're going to have a loss when they're closed. So, yeah. When it comes to school closures, it's very still case-by-case basis. Tokyo metropolitan area is closed. But then, like, Tokyo as a prefecture, it's kind of hit or miss, because the Tokyo prefecture, Tokyo metropolitan area are two, like, different systems. Also, private schools, once again, they don't really have to adhere to those rules. I'm lucky. I actually only had one day of work that I had to go to this Monday. And on that Monday, all I had to do was bike an hour and back because I didn't want to take the train. So I did that. I biked to and from my school. It took an hour each way, got lost both times, but I got to see sakura blossoms. Very nice. But yeah, I got to go into work, give homework. I gave a book report to my kids, and then I went home. Easy. It's going to get thrown up on a classy classroom. Done. That's it. That's all that needs to be done. Other people are not so lucky. Some schools are still staying open. Some schools are having their opening ceremonies with like everybody all lined up and crowded into an auditorium with kids just sitting right next to each other. It's happening all over the country right now. Because we're only focusing on 7 prefectures. Because, it's obviously only those 7 prefectures. There's no way it's more. There's no way it's more. Yeah, it's, mismanagement is being kind. But it's really just not, I think, going to work out the way that Shinzo Abe hopes. I really don't think it's going to. He's expecting a curve flattening in 2 weeks. I don't know why. I don't know how. People are still allowed to move about as they please. People are still allowed to, go to work and then go out to izakaya and restaurants and things because, yeah, some of them have closed down. Mostly chains, honestly. A lot of chains. Starbucks is closed for like the whole month and stuff like that. But smaller businesses, gonna still stay open. That's the way it is. That's how it's gonna happen throughout this whole time. So I don't understand how he thinks that in 2 weeks it's gonna somehow decrease. I really don't get this logic. He had to deliberate with all these different people in his health administration and commerce people and economies and blah. And somehow everybody's like in agreement that in 2 weeks there will be a flattening. Looking at America, like looking at New York, looking at Italy, looking at the worst case scenarios, I would not expect that. I would expect that the cases are still going to keep increasing, and I would expect that so long as we keep having travel and things going on, that they're going to increase exponentially over the next week or 2 weeks. I expect this to get worse, not better. I'm kind of a hope for the best but expect the worst kind of person. Like, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we do have a flattening of the curve miraculously, or I hope that our luck holds up and we keep our cases at a manageable level for our medical staff. But looking logically at all of the other countries who've had it before us, I don't understand the idea that we're just gonna flatten the curve like that. I also don't understand the idea of okay, bear with me. I also just don't understand the whole idea of we really can't do a shutdown and lockdown, because we've done it before. We've done it with the typhoons, with Hagibis and all the others. They were able, JR East shut down the trains and the buses. Like, you couldn't get on a bus. You couldn't get on a train after like 5 p.m., I think it was last time. They were shut down through like all the way into the morning. Like, I don't understand the idea that you can't do that. You can. You can do that. Now, of course, like the whole idea of individuals being arrested and fined for being out and about, good. You can't do that. Great. Like I said before, that's something that, yeah, you can't do. The police can come up and talk to you and harass you, and they can ask you really hard questions. As someone who's been asked to show my Zydu card more than once and having to like explain myself and my existence in Japan, but yeah, they can't like arrest you for it. They just can't. Which is good. You don't want to be locked up in a cell with like 5 other people who may have it. Good. But there are other ways. There are other aspects of this where you could have a shutdown. You could have a lockdown. But that's not what's gonna happen, so fine. Fine. Now, another point of Shinzo Abe's like press release, he had a small issue that like I'm not seeing a lot of the other press releases talking about, which is really weird to me, but okay. He got a question asked about domestic violence and how in other countries with the COVID-19 situation, how a lot of people are reporting more like DV incidences with their like spouses. So majority wise, women who are saying that like they're stuck at home with abusive husbands. Not all. Yeah, but so he kind of like floundered about that. He just said like, please stay at home, blah blah blah, and just he ruined it. He ruined his response, and then he just dropped it. And nobody else seems to be reporting on this, and it kind of bothers me. So, real quick, domestic violence. There are actually some hotlines that you can use. I will put one of them here. This one, the Asian Women's Network, is the one that has both English, Japanese support. I think it has other, I want to say it also has Chinese and Thai support as well. But if you are somebody you know is dealing with a domestic violence situation, Asian Women's Network can get you connected in with a possible safe house or talking to the police or something. So that's the hotline you should call here in the event that you are dealing with a domestic violence situation in Japan. Now, I will be honest, I don't know all the other ones, but there's also Tell Japan. They have a list of domestic violence resources, so there's a link for that down in the description. Yeah, I thought it was really weird that nobody pointed that out. It also wasn't like in most of the translations, but it happened. So, yeah. And then that was something small. But also, last point, in good news, the SWASH, so Sex Workers Advocacy Group, they actually got to have, the sex workers will now be able to apply for subsidies and the municipalities. So, yay. So now the sex workers, the hostesses, they can now go to their government and apply, and they might be eligible for that household income that other people were allowed to have, but not them. But now a lot of I say a lot of, it's like 2, but still, some politicians are of the opinion that like, oh, you foreigners, you shouldn't have our money because racism. Here's the thing. So they're very like, we like foreigners shouldn't have the household subsidy thing if we're having a hard time, that we are under the responsibility, what was it Mio said, that we're under the responsibility of our home countries and whatever. Here's the thing. If you're a taxpayer living in Japan, paying taxes to Japan, you are eligible for household subsidies, like welfare, regardless. However, do be aware that because of Japanese laws and because of court cases that have happened, I want to say 6-7 years ago now, I think it was the second year I was here in Japan, actually, when it comes to being eligible for welfare in general, you have to go apply, you have your case reviewed, And then municipalities are allowed to reject you or accept you. Whereas if, say, you were Japanese, they would, like, you would auto get your welfare. But for foreigners, they don't have any, like, thing in the books where they have to automatically give you welfare if you're, say, unemployed, or if you're, say, like, suffering from a illness or something. So already in the system, there's kind of like a roadblock for foreigners in order to be eligible for welfare and for this household thing too. So be aware of that. That's something to keep in mind. Basically, though, if you're somebody who is dealing with an issue, like you have been unemployed and you cannot find work, and you also are having issues with trying to get your employer to help you out, there is your embassy. That's the number one thing I can tell you. Contact your embassy, tell them that you are having problems with something, and try to see if they can help you out. They're inundated right now with calls, I'm sure, and emails, but that's the best way to go about it. If you're not even eligible for, I think you're not eligible for welfare in Japan if you haven't worked at least 6 months at a company in Japan. I could be wrong about that, but it's something to that effect of, like, I think 6 months at least. Yes, I think it's like you have to work at least 6 months in Japan, then you're eligible for welfare, then you could get it. That being said, I've known several friends who've applied for welfare after living here like 2 or 3 years. They got unemployed, they applied for it, and they got it. So, you know, it's case by case basis, like everything else right now. But you could try. You could go to your labor office, you can apply, and you could also go to Hello Work, although I've been told that the line for that is super long right now. But you could go to Hello Work, and Hello Work can help you get set up for unemployment. Hello Work is pretty great. They're pretty good advocates for foreigners or for, well, anybody unemployed to try and find new work or to help you get, like, past, say, your employer didn't give you wages. They'll help you fight to get your wages back. Stuff like that. So I think that is everything. So on a more personal note, I actually had a scare over the weekend. My grandmother was rushed to the hospital. She had pneumonia and fever, and I thought that she had COVID-19 maybe, and my family was really worried about her, and we really thought that, like, you know, that might be it, and I wasn't there, and I thought she might die. So it turns out no, she's fine. She doesn't have COVID-19. She does have pneumonia, but she's gonna recover, and she's gonna be okay. But that was scary, and my brother did probably have it, so that's 2 family members that I've had to worry about in a very short span of time. It's been rough. So I'm a little bit emotionally exhausted at the present time. So I am doing I'm doing things. I'm here, I'm alive, but yeah, I'm not super ginky. So on that note, I think for at least a couple days I will take a break from doing, like, videos and stuff, because I am not in a good headspace to keep doing these, like, every day or every other day. So I think from now on I would like to keep doing this. This seems to be, actually, people seem to really like these. So news bits, which is cool. So I was thinking, like, making it regular, like maybe a Thursday, Sunday thing or something like that, like twice a week doing news reviews. But yeah, I'm gonna need a little bit of a break for a bit, because this COVID-19 has definitely hit hard in a personal territory for me, and I need to recover. So yeah, on that note, don't worry, I'm okay. I promise. I just need some time. So I love everyone here who's come to watch, family and friends for the most part. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.